The Atacama's pre-dawn silence shattered as the burning spacecraft carved a mile-long scar across the desert floor. Dr. Madison Cooper stood at the impact site's edge, her environmental suit's sensors struggling to process the unknown radiation signatures emanating from the wreckage. The vessel's exotic alloys still glowed with residual heat, casting eerie shadows across the impact trench as the first rays of sunlight crept over the horizon. "Command, are you seeing these readings?" Madison adjusted her helmet cam, focusing on the peculiar geometric patterns etched into what appeared to be the craft's hull. "The material composition doesn't match anything in our database." "Copy that, Dr. Cooper. Maintain safe distance until the containment team." Madison barely registered the warning as her attention fixed on something extraordinary. A section of the hull seemed to ripple, like mercury responding to an electrical current. She took an involuntary step forward, her scientific curiosity overwhelming her training. "Dr. Cooper, please acknowledge." "There's some kind of reaction occurring," she interrupted, her heart racing. "The surface geometry is reconfiguring itself." She fumbled with her tablet, desperately trying to record the phenomenon. The patterns weren't random. They responded to her proximity, shifting and flowing like a living thing. The containment team's helicopters thundered in the distance, but Madison knew she had precious few moments before the site would be locked down under layers of bureaucracy. Years of research had prepared her for this moment, humanity's first detailed look at extraterrestrial technology. She wasn't about to let this opportunity slip away. Taking the calculated risk, Madison reached out toward the shifting surface. Her suit's proximity alerts screamed in protest, but she'd already noticed something the automated systems hadn't. The radiation levels dropped dramatically whenever the patterns realigned. The moment her gloved hand made contact, everything changed. The hull surface illuminated with brilliant blue-white energy, geometric patterns cascading outward from her touch like ripples in a pond. Madison gasped as her tablet exploded with data, not from its sensors, but flowing directly through her suit's systems. The alien metal wasn't just responding to physical contact. It was interfacing with her suit's neural feedback systems, and by extension, with her. "Holy shit," she whispered, watching as dormant systems throughout the crashed vessel began powering up. "Command, are you seeing this? The technology, it's not just advanced, it's responsive. It's adapting to human neural patterns." The next few minutes were a blur of discovery. Each system her suit connected with revealed new mysteries, power conduits that defied known physics, computational arrays that seemed to operate on quantum principles humanity had barely theorized. But most importantly, everything responded to her presence in ways that, according to the vessel's own logs, it shouldn't. When the containment team finally arrived, Madison had already made the most crucial discovery of all. Hidden in the ship's damaged but partially accessible data core was a tactical overview of humanity's solar system, marked with deployment zones and invasion vectors. "Get me a secure line to command," Madison ordered, her voice tight with urgency. "This isn't a random crash. This ship was a scout, gathering data for something much bigger." She paused, studying the tactical displays that still danced at her touch. "And based on these coordinates, the main force is already on its way." As she waited for the secure connection, Madison's mind raced with implications. The technology surrounding her was centuries beyond human capability, yet it responded to human neural patterns in ways its creators hadn't intended. Maybe, just maybe, that was the advantage humanity needed. The secure line crackled to life. "Command, this is Dr. Cooper. Wake everyone up. We have work to do, and not much time to do it. The Vorkath are coming, and they're not here to make friends." Behind her, the alien hull continued to pulse with energy, its patterns now synced to her own brainwave patterns, a phenomenon that would soon prove to be humanity's greatest weapon in the war to come. "Impossible," the German quantum physicist muttered, staring at the holographic display. "The energy patterns make no logical sense." Madison paced the underground lab beneath the Nevada desert, watching her hastily assembled team struggle with the alien technology. 3 weeks had passed since the crash, and the Vorkath energy signatures near Jupiter grew stronger each day. Time was running out. "Dr. Cooper," a voice called from across the lab. "You need to see this." Madison turned to find Jamie Chen, a 16-year-old esports champion who'd been recruited after demonstrating unprecedented aptitude with neural interfaces. The teenager's fingers danced across what they'd identified as a Vorkath tactical console, her movements more fluid than any of the scientists. "The interface isn't responding to traditional inputs," Jamie explained, her eyes never leaving the alien display. It's like playing StarCraft, but with your whole brain. You have to feel the moves, not think them." Madison watched in amazement as Jamie navigated through system protocols that had stumped their best computer scientists. "How are you doing that?" "I stopped trying to understand it," Jamie shrugged. "In competitive gaming, sometimes you have to act on instinct. The more I treat this like a really complex game interface, the better it works." A crash from across the lab interrupted them. Dr. Heinrich, the German physicist, had thrown his tablet in frustration. "This defies every principle of quantum mechanics. The computational architecture requires emotional input to function. It's absurd." Madison's eyes widened. "Say that again." "The systems, they respond to emotional states, but that's precisely why we cannot." "Jamie," Madison interrupted, "when you're using the interface, what are you feeling?" The teenager considered this. "Excited, challenged. Like when you're in the zone during a tournament." Madison rushed to her own console, heart racing. "Computer, display neural pattern analysis for all successful interface attempts in the past week." The results confirmed her suspicion. Every successful interaction with the Vorkath technology had one thing in common: elevated emotional states combined with intuitive response patterns. "Don't you see?" Madison addressed her bewildered team. "We've been approaching this all wrong. The Vorkath built their technology on pure logic, but human consciousness doesn't work that way. We're emotional, intuitive, creative, and that's not a weakness, it's our strength." As if to prove her point, the alien systems around them hummed to life, responding to her excitement. "Dr. Cooper," a military liaison interrupted, rushing into the lab. "We're detecting massive energy signatures. The Vorkath fleet has passed Mars orbit." Madison made a decision. "Get me every gamer, artist, and intuitive thinker you can find, and I want children's brainwave patterns analyzed immediately." "Children?" Heinrich looked scandalized. "This is advanced alien technology, not a playground." "Exactly," Madison smiled. "And who better to understand it than people who haven't yet learned to limit their imagination?" Jamie showed Dr. Heinrich how you interface with the tactical display. "Heinrich, stop analyzing and start feeling." The next 48 hours transformed the lab. Traditional scientists worked alongside gamers, artists, and prodigies. They discovered that poets could intuitively grasp the alien language patterns, while musicians could feel the rhythm of the energy fluctuations. A 12-year-old girl made a breakthrough in shield harmonics by treating them like dance choreography. Madison stood in the observation room, watching the organized chaos below. The Vorkath were coming, expecting to find primitive beings bound by technological limitations. Instead, they would face humans who had taken their logical perfection and transformed it through the power of emotion and creativity. Her tablet chimed. Another energy surge from the approaching fleet. "How long?" she asked the military liaison. "At current velocity, they'll reach Earth in 72 hours. Madison nodded, watching as Jamie taught a group of scientists how to feel their way through the alien systems. "Then we have 3 days to turn our greatest perceived weakness into our strongest defense." Below, a cheer erupted as someone cracked another layer of Vorkath encryption, not through complex algorithms, but through pure human intuition. The race against time continued, but for the first time since the crash, Madison felt something new: hope. 4 hours of sleep in 3 days had left Madison Cooper in a dangerous mood. The lab hummed with activity around her, but the breakthrough they needed remained frustratingly out of reach. They'd managed to activate various Vorkath systems through emotional resonance, but controlling them with precision was proving impossible. "Nothing makes sense anymore," she muttered, glaring at the alien power core they'd extracted from the crash site. Its crystalline structure pulsed with a soft blue light, taunting her with its mysteries. In a moment of pure frustration, she kicked the reinforced containment unit. The core flared to life, energy readings spiking off the charts. "Holy shit!" Jamie rushed to her console. "Dr. Cooper, do that again." "Do what?" "Throw a temper tantrum," Madison asked, but her scientific mind was already racing. "Computer, analyze my neural patterns over the last 30 seconds. The results painted an unexpected picture. Her spike of frustrated anger had created a neural resonance pattern more powerful than anything they'd recorded so far. It's not just about feeling emotions, Madison realized. It's about feeling them authentically. Raw. Unfiltered. She turned to her team. "Everyone, stop trying to control your emotions. Let them flow naturally." The lab erupted into controlled chaos as people began experimenting. A frustrated programmer's shout of anger caused a weapons system to charge instantly. A researcher's laugh of joy made the shield generators harmonize perfectly. A child's expression of wonder activated navigation systems they hadn't even known existed. "Dr. Cooper." General Richards strode into the lab, his face grim. "The Vorkath fleet has increased speed. We have less than 24 hours. Madison nodded, her mind already racing ahead. "General, I need you to make some unorthodox requisitions. Get me every person you can find with strong emotional intelligence. Counselors, artists, empaths, and children. Especially children. Doctor, with all due respect." The Vorkath built their technology on pure logic, suppressing emotion as a weakness. Madison interrupted. But they didn't just suppress it in their machines. They suppressed it in themselves. That's why their tech responds so strongly to human emotions. We're accessing capabilities they never knew existed because they literally couldn't feel them. As if to demonstrate, she approached the power core again, this time channeling her determination, her fear for humanity's future, her hope for survival. The core's energy output tripled instantly. "Incredible," Jamie whispered, analyzing the readings. "The emotional resonance is creating quantum entanglement patterns the Vorkath computers can't even process. We're not just using their tech, we're evolving it." Madison turned to General Richards. "The Vorkath are coming to harvest our resources and add us to their collective. They expect to find primitive beings who'll be overwhelmed by their superior technology. Instead, they're going to face humans who've taken their cold, logical perfection and transformed it through the power of raw emotion and creativity." The general studied the data streams, watching as humans across the lab interfaced with alien technology in ways that defied conventional physics. "How long until we can weaponize this?" "We already have." Madison smiled, leading him to a sealed chamber. Inside, a prototype combat suit floated in a suspension field. Meet Project Empathy. Neural interfaces powered by emotional resonance, allowing the wearer to control Vorkath tech through pure feeling. No training required, just genuine human emotion. "How many can we produce in 24 hours? With the resources already allocated?" 50. But here's the beautiful part. Each suit will be unique, adapted to its wearer's emotional signature. The Vorkath won't be facing an army of identical soldiers. They'll be facing humanity in all its beautiful, chaotic diversity. The general's comm unit chirped. "The fleet has passed lunar orbit." Madison nodded, watching as Jamie helped calibrate the first combat suit. "Then let's show them what human emotions can really do." It's time to make the logical choice to embrace chaos. Around them, the lab pulsed with power as humanity prepared to defend itself with its greatest weapon. The very feelings the Vorkath had dismissed as weakness. Lieutenant Jake Martinez floated 3 feet above the Nevada desert floor, his combat suit humming with power. 5 hours of training was all they'd had, barely enough time to grasp the basics of emotional resonance control. Now, as the Vorkath drop ships screamed through the atmosphere toward the research facility, he wondered if it would be enough. "Remember," Madison's voice crackled through the neural link. "Don't think. Feel." The suits respond to authentic emotion, not calculated strategy. Jake watched the alien ships approach, their crystalline hulls reflecting the desert sun. His heart raced, adrenaline surging, and his suit responded instantly, combat systems charging to levels they'd never achieved in training. "They're launching ground forces," Jamie reported from the command center. "Tactical analysis suggests." "Wait, that's weird. Their attack patterns are completely standardized, like they're following a preset playbook." The first wave of Vorkath warriors emerged from their dropships, their own combat suits a stark contrast to the human versions. Where the alien tech was sleek, symmetrical, and precise, the human modifications looked almost organic, pulsing with irregular patterns of energy that matched their wearers' emotional states. "All units, engage at will," General Richards ordered. "Show them what humanity can do." Jake didn't think. He let his years of mixed martial arts training take over, letting pure muscle memory and emotion guide his movements. His suit responded instantly, amplifying his natural fighting style in ways that defied physics. He launched himself at the nearest Vorkath warrior, his suit's energy field pulsing with the rhythm of his heartbeat. The alien's attacks were perfect, textbook movements executed with flawless precision. But Jake's responses were pure human instinct, each motion powered by genuine emotion. Fear became shields, anger became weapon strikes, and determination fueled impossible maneuvers. "Their systems are trying to analyze our combat patterns," Madison observed through the neural link. "But they can't predict what we'll do because we're not following any logical pattern." Across the battlefield, other humans demonstrated the same advantage. A former dancer twirled through enemy fire, her suit's shields moving like flowing water. A teenage gamer treated the combat like a real-life video game, pulling off moves that the Vorkath combat computers classified as tactically illogical. Jake found himself surrounded by 3 Vorkath warriors. Their attacks came in perfect synchronization, and that was their weakness. He didn't plan his response. He felt it. Joy surged through him, the pure exhilaration of combat, and his suit translated that emotion into a burst of energy that phased him through their coordinated attack. "Impossible," one of the Vorkath warriors spoke, their mechanically translated voice filled with confusion. "Your technology cannot function this way." "That's humanity's secret," Jake grinned, letting his next attack flow from pure instinct. "We don't care what's impossible." In the command center, Madison watched the battle through multiple feeds. The Vorkath's tactical advantage was crumbling as they faced an enemy that didn't follow their rules of engagement. Each human fighter was unique, their combat styles as varied as their emotional responses. "Their command ship is powering up," Jamie announced. They're retreating." The Vorkath forces withdrew with the same precision they'd shown in attack, but their retreat spoke volumes. For the first time in their history of conquest, they'd encountered something their logical minds couldn't process: human unpredictability. As the alien ships disappeared into the upper atmosphere, Jake landed near the research facility, his suit still humming with residual emotional energy. "How many casualties?" General Richards demanded. "None, sir," Jamie reported, amazement in her voice. "They couldn't hit what they couldn't predict. And our shields, powered by genuine human fear and determination, held against everything they threw at us." Madison studied the battle data, already seeing possibilities for improvement. This was just a scouting force. They'll be back, and in greater numbers. But now, they know what they're facing, and that knowledge will terrify them more than any weapon. "Why's that?" Jake asked, powering down his suit. "Because we've done something they consider impossible," Madison smiled. "We've taken their perfect technology and made it imperfect, made it human, And that's exactly why we're going to win. The Vorkath Supreme Command Ship emerged from hyperspace with a fleet of 10,000 vessels, their crystalline hulls darkening Earth's skies. Madison watched the tactical display from the newly established Global Defense Center as cities worldwide prepared for simultaneous attacks. They're targeting multiple population centers, Jamie announced, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. But something's different. Their attack patterns, they're trying to be unpredictable. Madison smiled grimly. They're adapting, but they're still thinking about it logically. Show me Tokyo. The display shifted to Japan, where the first wave of Vorkath ships descended through storm clouds. They expected to find panic, chaos, or at least standardized military resistance. Instead, they found something unprecedented. Giant mechanized suits, inspired by decades of anime and manga culture, rose to meet them. The Japanese engineers had merged Vorkath technology with their cultural vision of mecha warfare, creating machines that moved with the fluid grace of martial artists, while wielding energy weapons that pulsed in sync with their pilots' fighting spirit. Rio de Janeiro, Madison commanded, and the display shifted again. Brazilian defenders had incorporated capoeira movements into their combat suits, turning the battle into a deadly dance. Their emotional resonance patterns flowed like samba rhythms, creating shield harmonics that the Vorkath targeting systems couldn't lock onto. New Delhi. Indian engineers had mapped ancient chakra principles onto the alien tech's energy systems. Their defenders moved like gods from Hindu mythology, multiple energy arms sprouting from their suits as they channeled emotional and spiritual energy in ways that defied the Vorkath's understanding of physics. They can't counter what they can't comprehend, General Richards observed, watching the global defense unfold. Each culture is using the technology differently, creating thousands of unique combat styles. In Moscow, defenders drew on centuries of ballet tradition, their movements precise yet filled with passionate energy that overwhelmed the logical patterns of Vorkath combat computers. African warriors channeled ancestral fighting styles, their suits responding to rhythms passed down through generations. Warning. Jamie's voice cut through the command center. Massive energy spike from the Vorkath flagship. They're charging their primary weapon. Madison's mind raced. Patch me through to all defense forces. Now. Connected. All defenders, listen carefully. Madison's voice reached every human combat suit worldwide. The Vorkath are about to demonstrate their ultimate weapon. Don't try to fight it. Feel it. Let your fear become your shield, your determination your strength. We're not soldiers following orders. We're humans protecting our home. The Vorkath weapon fired, a beam of pure energy that should have devastated Earth's defenses. Instead, something remarkable happened. Each human defender responded emotionally, instinctively, their suits creating a web of overlapping shields powered by raw human feelings. Fear, courage, love, rage. Every emotion contributed to a defense network as varied as humanity itself. The beam scattered harmlessly across the emotional barrier, its energy dissipating into countless quantum fluctuations that the Vorkath couldn't track. Impossible. The Vorkath commander's transmission echoed across all frequencies. Your species cannot possess this level of technological mastery. You're right, Madison responded, letting her pride in humanity flow through the communication system. We don't possess it. We reimagined it. Every human being on Earth is using your technology in ways you never dreamed possible because we're not trying to master it. We're feeling it, living it, making it part of our stories and dreams. As if to prove her point, a squad of Australian defenders transformed their suits into forms inspired by Aboriginal Dreamtime creatures, while Chinese units channeled the fluid movements of Tai Chi to redirect Vorkath energy weapons back at their sources. Their fleet is regrouping, Jamie reported, excitement clear in her voice. Multiple ships showing signs of battle damage, and something else. Dr. Cooper, some of their crews appear to be experiencing emotional resonance patterns of their own. Madison leaned forward, hope surging through her. Then we've done more than defend ourselves. We've shown them what they've lost, and maybe, just maybe, helped them remember what it means to feel. The battle raged on, but now Earth's defenders fought with the confidence of those who knew their greatest weakness had become their ultimate strength. Madison stood in the observation room of the kindergarten research wing, watching 5-year-old Sarah Matthews play with what used to be a Vorkath quantum stabilizer. The little girl had turned it into a makeshift dollhouse, complete with energy fields she'd somehow shaped into furniture. The readings were off the charts. Their neural patterns are extraordinary, Jamie said, reviewing the data. Children's brainwaves create resonance patterns 30 times stronger than adult signatures. But that's not even the crazy part. Look at the quantum fluctuations. Madison's eyes widened as she studied the readouts. The children weren't just controlling the alien technology. They were fundamentally altering its basic principles. Their unfettered imagination, unburdened by preconceptions of what was possible, rewrote the rules of physics at a quantum level. Dr. Cooper. A researcher burst into the room, tablet in hand. You need to see this. We were letting the kids play with the damaged Vorkath engine components, and well, just look. The footage showed a group of children playing Spaceship. As they made whooshing sounds and pretended to fly through space, the engine components had actually created localized space-time distortions. They weren't pretending. They were warping reality. Get me General Richards, Madison ordered, her mind racing with possibilities. And find me every child psychologist and dream researcher you can. I think I know how we're going to take the fight to the Vorkath. 48 hours later, the first prototype of the Dream Drive was ready for testing. They'd merged Vorkath propulsion technology with neural interfaces calibrated to capture the pure, unfiltered imagination of children's dreams. Adult pilots would provide focus and direction, while the children's dream states would power the impossible. This is insane, Lieutenant Martinez commented, studying the newly retrofitted human carrier ship. We're basically weaponizing imagination. That's exactly what we're doing, Madison confirmed. The Vorkath abandoned imagination for logic. We're going to show them what they've been missing. The first test flight exceeded all expectations. The Dream Drive didn't just move through space. It rewrote it, powered by the pure creativity of sleeping children safely ensconced in specialized chambers. Adult pilots, chosen for their high emotional intelligence and creative problem-solving abilities, guided the ships through maneuvers that the Vorkath had dismissed as theoretical. Multiple Vorkath capital ships detected approaching Mars. Jamie announced from Mission Control. They're moving to establish a blockade. Madison nodded to General Richards. Time to launch the counter-offensive. All ships, prepare for Dream Drive activation. The human fleet rose from hidden bases worldwide. Each ship was unique, its Dream Drive colored by the cultural dreams and stories of its crew. Japanese vessels moved like living Enigma machines. Indian ships flickered through space like divine chariots. African vessels danced between dimensions to the rhythm of ancient drums. Remember, Madison's voice reached every crew member. Don't try to outthink them. Outdream them. Your imagination is your strongest weapon. The battle that followed defied description. Human ships phased through Vorkath weapons fire by treating solid matter as imaginary. They appeared in multiple places simultaneously because their child-powered engines couldn't understand why they shouldn't. Reality itself seemed to bend around human vessels as children's dreams reshaped the possible. In the chaos, something unexpected happened. A Vorkath destroyer, hit by the quantum wake of a Dream Drive, experienced a cascading effect. Its crew, exposed to pure human imagination, began experiencing emotions they'd suppressed for generations. The ship broke formation, its systems responding to feelings its builders had engineered away. They're broadcasting, Jamie shouted. The destroyer, they're asking for asylum. Madison watched as more Vorkath ships showed signs of emotional awakening. The Dream Drives weren't just powering human ships, they were reminding the Vorkath of something they'd lost long ago. the power to dream. "All ships, hold position," she ordered. "I think we've just discovered something more powerful than any weapon. We found a way to help them remember what it means to imagine." The battle paused as human dreams echoed through space, offering the Vorkath a chance not just to fight differently, but to be different, to remember who they were before logic consumed their souls. And in their dreams, humanity showed them the way home. The Vorkath High Command Fortress, a crystalline megastructure orbiting their homeworld, trembled as reports flooded in from across their empire. Madison watched through the quantum-linked display as centuries of supposed technological superiority crumbled before human innovation. "Another sector has gone dark," a Vorkath commander reported, their traditionally emotionless voice wavering. "The human dream drive signatures are. They're spreading like a consciousness virus." The fortress's observation deck had become an impromptu command center for both species. Madison stood alongside Jake Martinez and Jamie Chen, facing the Vorkath Supreme Logic Council. Behind them, holographic displays showed the transformation sweeping through the empire. "Your infection spreads," First Logic Master Kathan accused, though their voice held a hint of something new: curiosity. "Our systems, our people, they malfunction with emotional resonance." "Not malfunction," Madison corrected. "Evolve. Look at your own readings. The quantum efficiency of affected ships has increased by 300%. She gestured to a nearby display, where a Vorkath battlecruiser performed maneuvers that would have been impossible under pure logical control. Its crew, awakened to their suppressed emotions, had discovered ways to merge logical precision with intuitive leaps. "Impossible," Kithan whispered, but their voice cracked with something that sounded suspiciously like wonder. Jamie stepped forward, her tactical console displaying data from across the empire. "The subjected races you conquered, they're not just rebelling. They're each discovering their own ways to interface with your technology. Look." The displays shifted, showing scenes from dozens of worlds. Insectoid beings used collective emotional resonance to create hive-mind interfaces with Vorkath systems. Crystalline entities channeled pure emotional energy through the technology, creating symphonies of light and power. Each species found their unique way to merge feeling with function. "Your empire was built on the assumption that logic was the pinnacle of evolution," Madison explained. "But you forgot something crucial. Logic is a tool, not a destination. By suppressing emotion, you didn't achieve perfection. You achieved stagnation." A sudden alert drew everyone's attention. A Vorkath science vessel, one of the first to be infected by human emotional resonance, had just broken multiple theoretical barriers. Its crew, embracing both logic and emotion, had discovered principles that pure logic had deemed impossible. "How?" Then demanded, their perfect composure finally cracking. "How did primitives like you surpass us?" Jake laughed, the sound causing nearby Vorkath systems to pulse in harmony. "Because we never tried to surpass you. We just refused to accept your limitations." As if to prove his point, a dream-drive ship phased into view outside the fortress, its hull rippling with patterns generated by its child dreamers. The sight triggered something in the younger Vorkath present, a remembrance of their own childhood dreams, long suppressed in the name of logical progression. "Your civilization stands at a crossroads," Madison addressed the council. "You can continue fighting against your own forgotten nature, or you can remember who you were before you chose pure logic. The technology you developed, it was always meant to work with emotion. You just forgot how to feel." Kithen rose from their throne, their crystalline armor showing the first signs of emotional resonance patterns. "And if we remember, then you'll discover what humanity learned." Madison smiled. "That true advancement comes not from rejecting either logic or emotion, but from letting them dance together." Across the empire, the revolution continued. Vorkath ships and crews awakened to their suppressed emotions, discovering capabilities in their own technology that centuries of pure logic had never imagined. The subjected races rose not in violent rebellion, but in a renaissance of technological innovation, each adding their unique consciousness patterns to the growing symphony of possibilities. "The Empire as we knew it is ended," Kithin declared, and for the first time in recorded history, a Vorkath smiled. Perhaps it is time to dream again." Madison watched as the fortress's systems began responding to the collective emotional awakening of its inhabitants. The revolution wasn't won with weapons or warfare, but with something far more powerful, the reminder that even the most logical beings in the galaxy had hearts waiting to be reawakened. And in that awakening, both humanity and the Vorkath found something greater than victory. They found evolution. 6 months after the Vorkath awakening, Madison stood in the grand auditorium of the newly established Galactic Institute of Consciousness Technology. The chamber, designed with both human and Vorkath architecture, hummed with the emotional resonance of a dozen different species. "Watch this," Jamie whispered, pointing to a young Vorkath student struggling with a human-modified interface. The alien youth's frustration was evident, until a human child walked over, took their hand, and simply said, "Don't think about it. Just feel it." The interface blazed to life, responding to the Vorkath's first genuine laugh in generations. "It's happening faster with the younger ones," Jake observed from Madison's other side. Now serving as the head of cross-species combat training, he'd seen firsthand how quickly the next generation adapted to the merger of logic and emotion. "Of course it is," Madison smiled. "They haven't had centuries of emotional suppression to overcome. They're learning what we've always known. That feeling and thinking aren't opponents. They're dance partners." The demonstration area below showcased the results of this new understanding. A team of human and Vorkath engineers had created a new class of ship, its systems designed from the ground up to respond to both logical precision and emotional resonance. The vessel could execute maneuvers with Vorkath accuracy while performing reality-bending feats powered by human imagination. "Dr. Cooper," a familiar voice called. Madison turned to find Kithin approaching, their traditionally rigid armor now flowing with patterns that reflected their emotional state. "The Council has reviewed your latest proposal. The concept of a cultural exchange dream drive is fascinating. Think about it," Madison explained, her excitement causing nearby systems to pulse in harmony. "Instead of using the dream drive just for transportation, we can use it to share experiences, memories, even entire cultural histories between species. Imagine Vorkath children dreaming human dreams, and human children experiencing the logical beauty of Vorkath architecture." Than's armor rippled with what Madison had learned to recognize as joy. "To think we once saw emotions as a weakness to be eliminated. Now we understand they were the key to unlocking technologies we never imagined possible." A commotion from the demonstration floor drew their attention. A group of children, human, Vorkath, and several other species, had linked their consciousness through a modified dream drive interface. Their combined imagination manifested as a stunning display of energy and light, telling stories that transcended species and culture. "They're not just using the technology," Jamie observed, checking the readings on her tablet. "They're evolving it. Each shared dream, each combined emotional resonance, creates new possibilities we haven't even begun to understand." Madison watched as a young Vorkath student attempted to explain the logical principles behind quantum mechanics to his human classmate, while the human taught him how to feel the rhythm of subatomic particles. Both approaches were valid, both necessary, and together they created something greater than either could achieve alone. "We're receiving reports from the outer colonies," Jake announced, checking his communications link. "The subjected species we helped liberate. They're not just adapting our innovations, they're creating entirely new branches of emotional technology. The Crystalline Collective has developed a way to store memories in quantum resonance patterns, and the hive mind species have created a form of emotional FTL communication. Because we showed them they didn't have to choose between advancement and identity." Madison nodded. They could use both to become something more. The chamber's ambient lighting shifted as the sun set outside, and Madison was struck by the symbolism. The rigid, cold logic of the old Vorkath Empire had given way to a new dawn, One where emotion and reason, chaos and order, dreams and reality all dance together in harmony. What happens next? Keith then asked, watching the children below create impossible wonders with their combined imagination. Madison smiled, feeling the pulse of human and alien technology beating like a shared heartbeat throughout the Institute. "That's the beautiful part," she said. "For the first time in your species' history, you don't need to calculate every possibility. You can simply dream, and let those dreams show you the way." Around them, the future unfolded in ways neither human logic nor Vorkath reason could have predicted alone, but that both species together could now imagine into reality.